The world spun, then went black. When I opened my eyes, a familiar face was hovering over me. "Olivia, can you hear me?" It was Dr. David Green, an emergency physician I'd worked alongside for years. His words were a blur, but two cut through the haze: accident and internal bleeding. Then, the one that truly hit me like a second collision: "You're going to need surgery." My 3-year-old twins, Clara and Noah, were with their sitter, who was leaving in less than an hour. I had 45 minutes to find someone to watch my children while doctors cut me open. Lying there, every breath a stab of pain, the smell of antiseptic filling the air, my hands shook as I fumbled for my phone. Blood smeared the screen. There was only one number I could think to call. My father, Paul, answered, his voice already tight with impatience. "Olivia? We're about to leave. What is it?" I choked out the words between gasps. "Dad, I need help. I was in an accident."
"Surgery."
"Please, I need you and Mom to watch Clara and Noah, just for a few hours." Silence. Then muffled voices, my mother Sarah's sharp, annoyed tone, Chloe's laugh in the background. My phone buzzed. A message in our family group chat from my mother. "Olivia, you've always been a nuisance and a burden. We have Taylor Swift tickets with Chloe tonight. Figure it out yourself." A second message from my father. "You're a doctor. You're used to hospitals. Don't make this into a bigger deal than it needs to be." And then from Chloe, just a laughing emoji. David saw my screen. "Olivia," he said, his voice careful. "What did they say?" I couldn't answer. Something inside me had just irrevocably fractured. I whispered, "I need a phone. With internet." He handed me his without a word. In 4 minutes, I had called an emergency nanny service, paid triple the rate, and authorized payment. I handed back his phone, then asked, "Can you screenshot those messages from my phone before it dies?" He nodded slowly. "Yeah, I can do that." From that hospital bed, with N4 in my arm and fear in my heart, I made the easiest decision of my life. The surgery took 4 hours. Ruptured spleen, internal bleeding. Another few minutes, and I might not have made it. 5 days in the hospital. 5 days of morphine haze, vital checks. Not one call, not one text, not one visit from my parents. The emergency nanny service, expensive as it was worth every penny. Strangers took better care of my children than my own family. On day 3, I asked for my laptop. My hands were steady as I logged into my banking app. 8 years of automatic transfers stared back at me, regular as clockwork. I canceled them all. Then I blocked their numbers and Chloe's. No tears, no second-guessing. It felt like setting down a weight I'd carried so long I'd forgotten it was there. David stopped by later. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Better," I told him. "For the first time in 8 years, I actually feel better." He just nodded. He didn't need details. He understood. Growing up, I learned early that love came with a ranking system. My older sister, Chloe, was the star. Effortlessly beautiful, she had this magnetic quality. When she wanted fashion design, Mom cried happy tears. Dad called her our little visionary. When I said I wanted to be a doctor, Dad just nodded. "That's practical." That was it. Practical. I clawed my way through medical school, specializing in cardiology. The day I graduated, my parents arrived 2 hours late. Chloe had an emergency meeting. I got a quick parking lot photo and a lukewarm "congrats, honey." Compare that to Chloe's first fashion show 3 years earlier, 5-star hotel in Boston, front row seats, 17 Facebook photos from Dad. I told myself it made sense. Chloe needed more support. I was stable. I could handle it. But what I didn't know then was their favoritism wasn't just emotional. It was financial. And I was the one footing the bill. It started 8 years ago. Dad called, his voice tight. "Olivia, we're in a bit of a bind. Mortgage is due." "Just this once," he said. Just this once became every month. The mortgage, their health insurance, car repairs, roof leaks. I never said no. When I got pregnant and the twins' father walked out, I called them from the hospital after a scary bleeding episode. "Oh, honey, Chloe is so stressed after her show in Paris," Mom said. They didn't come. Not for the birth. Not for the first month when I was nursing two newborns and studying for my board exams. But the automatic transfers kept going out. Mortgage, insurance, whatever else. I kept a spreadsheet. $364,200, give or take. I never asked for gratitude. I never expected a parade. But I also never expected to be called a burden by the people I'd been carrying for almost a decade. That reckoning was coming. I knew the fallout was coming. They'd rage and cry and demand explanations. But I didn't expect what came next. 2 weeks after my surgery, I was home, sore but alive, making pancakes for Clara and Noah. Then, 3 sharp raps on my front door. My heart rate spiked. If it was my parents, I wasn't ready. I peeked through the peephole. Standing there was Grandpa Arthur. Silver hair, sharp blue eyes, a posture that still carried the authority of 40 years on the federal bench. I hadn't seen him in almost 3 years. I opened the door. He pulled me into a hug, so tight my incision ached. Olivia, his voice rough. Let me look at you. He scanned my face, then my hand, resting protectively over my abdomen. I know everything, he said quietly. Aunt Julia told me. Grandpa, I don't. He held up a hand. You don't need to explain anything. But I do need you to come somewhere with me. He pulled out an elegant, cream-colored envelope. My 70th birthday party next Saturday. The whole family will be there. His eyes met mine. And I have some things that need to be said. Later, at my kitchen table, Grandpa Arthur watched Clara and Noah with a soft smile. They looked just like you at that age, he said. Same stubborn chin. Grandpa, how did you find out about the accident? About everything? Aunt Julia called me the night it happened. When she told me what your parents did. He stopped, jaw tightening. I've watched this for years, Olivia. The way Sarah and Paul treat you versus Chloe. I'm old, but I'm not blind. I thought maybe I was imagining it. You weren't, he said, his voice carrying the weight of decades spent separating truth from lies. I was a federal judge for 40 years. I know what favoritism looks like, what exploitation looks like.
Tell me something.
Do you still have records of the money you've sent them? I nodded. Every transfer. 8 years. Good, he said. I want you to put together a summary. Every payment, every date, every amount. Why? Because at my birthday party, in front of the entire family, I intend for the truth to come out. His eyes were steel. Not as an attack, not as revenge. Simply as facts. And facts, as I learned in 40 years on the bench, have a way of speaking for themselves. My hands trembled. What if they hate me? The ones who matter won't, he squeezed my hand. And the ones who do never deserved you. The next 2 weeks were a blur. I printed every bank statement, bound them in a manila folder. $364,200. Aunt Julia came over. She flipped through, her expression darkening. $364,200, she said flatly. And they called you a burden. I don't want to destroy the family, I said. I just want them to see. You're not destroying anything, she said, putting a hand on my shoulder. You're just stopping the lie. They built their comfortable life on your silence. That evening, a cousin, Emily, texted, Heard you and your parents had a falling out. Chloe's been telling everyone you've been acting erratic since your accident. They were already spinning the narrative, preparing their defense. Grandpa Arthur's colonial estate whispered old money and quiet authority. More than 40 cars lined the driveway. The whole family was here.
The folder was in my bag.
Inside, champagne flowed, a string quartet played. I spotted my parents near the fireplace. They saw me. Mom's laugh died. Dad's face went rigid. Then Chloe appeared, gliding over. Oh, Olivia, she air-kissed my cheek. You made it. We heard about your accident. Nothing too serious, I hope. I met her gaze. A ruptured spleen and internal bleeding. I almost died. Her smile flickered. Mom said it was just a fender bender. Mom wasn't there. I shifted Noah. None of you were. Chloe's composure cracked, then she recovered. Well, you look fine now. That's what matters. She drifted away. The first rumble of thunder. 30 minutes later, it started. Chloe's voice, deliberately loud, carried across the room. I'm so worried about Olivia, honestly. The accident really affected her. She's been saying the strangest things. Cut off all contact with Mom and Dad for no reason. Mom joined in, dabbing her eyes. We've tried everything. I think she's having some kind of breakdown. She's always been the sensitive one, Chloe added. The stress of being a single mom has just been too much. I felt eyes on me, pitying looks. Aunt Julia appeared. They've been laying groundwork all week, she murmured, trying to discredit you first. I know, I said, watching Grandpa Arthur. He gave me the smallest nod. I'm fine. Let them talk. The room quieted as Grandpa Arthur rose. Before we continue with the festivities, he said, his voice carrying effortlessly, I have a few things I'd like to say.
The air changed.
This was it. Before he could continue, my father, Paul, stepped forward.
Dad, wait.
His voice was controlled. Before you say anything, there's something the family should know. Grandpa raised an eyebrow. Paul. Dad turned to the room. Every inch the concerned parent. As many of you may have heard, my daughter Olivia has been going through a difficult time. He gestured to me with a sad smile. After her accident, she's been confused, distant. She's cut off contact with her mother and me completely. Mom stepped up, clutching her handkerchief. We've only ever wanted the best for her. Her voice trembled. But she's been spreading terrible lies about us. Chloe added, she's even claiming we refused to help her during her accident, which is absolutely not true. I stood frozen. Clara buried her face in my neck. Then Grandpa Arthur's voice cut through the room like a gavel. Are you finished, Paul? His question was quiet, but everyone heard the steel underneath. Dad's confidence faltered. I just thought the family should know. The family should know the truth, Grandpa interrupted. And I intend to give it to them. He walked to the center of the room. I've listened to your concerns, Paul, Sarah, Chloe. You've painted a very clear picture of a troubled young woman who's turned against her loving family.
He paused.
Now, I'd like to ask some questions. Dad shifted uncomfortably. Dad, I don't think this is the place. This is exactly the place. Grandpa's voice didn't rise, but it hardened. This is family, and families should know the truth about each other. He turned to my father. Paul, a simple question. Who's been paying the mortgage on your house for the past 8 years? The color drained from Dad's face. What? Your mortgage. $2,400 a month for 8 years. Who's been paying it? We. Dad's eyes darted to Mom. We pay our own mortgage. Do you? Grandpa reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out my folder. Because I have here a complete record of bank transfers from Olivia's account to your mortgage company every month for 96 consecutive months. A murmur rippled through the room. That's a misunderstanding, Mom stammered. Olivia offered. I'm not suggesting you held a gun to her head, Grandpa said calmly. I'm simply establishing facts. He opened the folder. Let me share some numbers with the family. I think they'll find them illuminating. Across the room, Chloe was pale. Dad's hands clenched. Mom looked like she might faint. I stood there, holding my children, my heart pounding, as the truth finally began to surface. 8 years, Grandpa Arthur read. The room was utterly silent. Even the string quartet had stopped. Mortgage payments, $230,400. That's the house Paul and Sarah live in. The house they claim they pay for themselves. Someone gasped. Health insurance premiums, $76,800. When Paul's company dropped their coverage, Olivia picked up the bill. He flipped a page. Car repairs, home maintenance, emergency expenses, approximately $45,000. Cash gifts and financial support for Chloe's fashion ventures, $12,000. He closed the folder. Total, $364,200, give or take. The silence was deafening. Aunt Julia stepped forward. For context, everyone, that's more than most people make in 7 years of full-time work. Olivia did this while completing her medical residency and raising infant twins alone. She offered. Mom's voice cracked. No one said you forced her, Grandpa replied. But I am curious. In 8 years of receiving the support, how many times did you say thank you? How many times did you visit her in the hospital after her twins were born? How many times did you show up for her? My mother started crying. Real, ugly sobs. We thought she was fine, Dad said, his voice hollow. She never complained. She always managed. She managed, Grandpa repeated, because she had to. Because you taught her that her needs didn't matter. And Uncle shook his head. $360,000. And you called her a burden? Dad flinched. But Grandpa wasn't finished. There is one more thing the family should hear.
He pulled out his phone.
2 months ago, Olivia was in a serious car accident. Bleeding internally, being rushed to emergency surgery. From the ambulance, she called her parents. Her children were home with a babysitter who was about to leave. She needed someone to watch them for a few hours. He paused, looking directly at my parents. This is the text message she received in response from Sarah. I'll read it exactly. He cleared his throat. Olivia, you've always been a nuisance and a burden. We have Taylor Swift tickets with Chloe tonight. Figure it out yourself. The room erupted. Oh my God, someone breathed. That's not. You're taking it out of context. Chloe said desperately. There is no context, Aunt Julia snapped. That makes abandoning your daughter during a medical emergency acceptable. We didn't know it was serious. Dad shouted. Did you ask? Grandpa's voice cut through. Did you call her back? Did you come to the hospital? Silence. The answer, for those wondering, is no, no, and no. A distant cousin stepped away from my parents. Several others followed. My mother was sobbing uncontrollably. I didn't mean it like that. I was frustrated. You didn't think your daughter might die, Grandpa finished, because you never thought about her at all. He turned to face the room. I'm not asking anyone to pass judgment. I'm simply presenting facts. What you do with them is your own choice. He looked at me, his eyes soft. Olivia, is there anything you'd like to say? I hadn't planned to speak. But looking around the room, I realized I had something to say. I handed Noah to Aunt Julia and stepped forward. I didn't come here for revenge. My voice was steadier than I expected. I came here because Grandpa invited me, and because for 34 years, I've been living with a version of my family that wasn't real. A version where I was the strong one, the reliable one, the one who didn't need anything. I looked at my parents. I believed you when you said Chloe needed more support because her industry was harder. When you said I could handle things on my own. I believed you, and I tried to be what you needed me to be. A tear slid down my cheek. But that night in the ambulance, bleeding and terrified, I finally understood. I wasn't strong to you. I was convenient. I wasn't reliable. I was exploitable. And no matter how much I gave, it would never be enough to make you see me the way you see her. Several family members moved closer. My father tried to speak. Olivia, I'm not finished.
He stopped.
I don't hate you, I said quietly. But I can't keep pretending this is okay. I can't keep buying love that should have been free. An uncle across the room turned to my father. How could you, Paul? So what now? Dad's voice was desperate. You've humiliated us in front of the whole family. Are you happy? I shook my head. I'm not happy, Dad. None of this makes me happy. But I'm also not sorry because this isn't about humiliation. It's about honesty. For the first time in 8 years, our family knows the truth. Not your version, not Chloe's spin. The truth. Chloe tried once more. This is ridiculous. You're acting like we're monsters. We're your family. Families help each other. You're right. I turned to face her. Families do help each other. So, where were you when I was pregnant and alone? Where were you when I was raising newborns while studying for boards? Where were you when I was bleeding out in an ambulance? She had no answer. I looked back at my parents. From now on, I won't be sending money. Not because I can't afford it, but because financial support should be a gift, not an obligation. And it should flow both ways in a family that actually cares about each other. My mother reached toward me, a desperate plea in her eyes. Olivia, please. I continued, addressing the room, but my gaze held theirs. I'm also not cutting you off forever. But I need space. Real space. Not a few weeks of guilt-tripping followed by everything going back to normal. I need you to actually think about what you've done. And if someday you can acknowledge it, truly acknowledge it, maybe we can rebuild something. I took Noah back from Aunt Julia. But I won't hold my breath. A great aunt approached, taking my hands. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I had no idea. I always thought you were the one who had it easy. I know, I said softly. Everyone did. That's how it was supposed to look. My parents left the party early.
No one stopped them.
No one said goodbye. The silence they left was heavy, but not uncomfortable. More like the quiet after a storm passes. In the days that followed, my phone buzzed constantly. Cousins apologized. Aunts and uncles reevaluated everything. My cousin Emily texted, I always thought you were the difficult one. Chloe made it sound like you pulled away for no reason. I'm so sorry I believed her. The family group chat was deleted. My parents found themselves quietly excluded from gatherings. 3 weeks later, Uncle Daniel's 40th birthday, they weren't invited. Aunt Julia's Easter brunch, not on the list. My mother called from a new number. I let it go to voicemail. We need to talk. This has all been blown out of proportion. Your father is devastated. Can't we just move past this? I listened, then deleted it. Forgiveness wasn't a reset button.
I knew that now.
It was a release for me, not for them. And I wasn't ready to release anything yet. 3 months after the party, Aunt Julia called. They're selling the house. My coffee cup clattered. What? My parents. They put it on the market last week. Couldn't keep up with the mortgage. I felt nothing but weariness. Where will they go? Uncle Robert's guest house, temporarily. He made it clear it's conditional. They need to get jobs. Real jobs. My parents hadn't worked full-time in years. They'd been living off my money, not even realizing how dependent they'd become. What about Chloe?
Can't she help?
Aunt Julia laughed, not kindly. Chloe's been drowning since her divorce. Word got out about the party. Someone in the family knows someone in fashion. She lost a major design contract. Last I heard, she's waitressing part-time. I looked out at Clara and Noah playing. I don't want them to suffer, I said quietly. I know you don't, sweetheart. Aunt Julia's voice softened. That's because you're a good person. But they didn't suffer for 8 years because you were supporting them. You stopping wasn't cruel. It was necessary. She was right. That evening, I updated my budget. The $3,200 I used to send them now went into a college fund for the twins. They'd never worry about student loans. They'd never carry someone else's burden the way I had. That felt like justice enough. 6 months after Grandpa's party, a call came on a Tuesday night. Unknown number. I answered. Olivia? Chloe's voice was different, smaller. The polished confidence gone. Chloe, please don't hang up. She took a shaky breath. I know I don't deserve your time, but I need to say something. I'm sorry.
For everything.
For the way I treated you. For laughing at that text when you were. Her voice broke. When you were almost dying, I laughed. What kind of person does that? I waited. I didn't know about the money. Not all of it. I thought Mom and Dad were struggling, but I didn't realize it was you for 8 years. Olivia, how did I not know? Did you ever ask? Silence. No, she whispered. I didn't because I didn't want to know. I liked being the favorite. I liked that everything came easy for me. She laughed bitterly. Nothing's easy anymore. I heard about the contract. Yeah, turns out your reputation matters in this industry. Funny how that works. We sat in silence. I'm not asking for money, she finally said, or forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. What Mom and Dad did. I see all of it. I took a deep breath. Then start from there. Stand on your own feet. Be better. Yeah, her voice thick with tears. I'm trying. Good. I hung up. For the first time, I felt something like hope. 6 months later, 1 year after the accident, I stood in my new apartment, watching the sunset. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. Not big, but it was mine. No mortgage payments to parents who didn't appreciate them. No insurance premiums for people who called me a burden. Just rent, utilities, and a college fund growing steadily. Clara and Noah were at Grandpa Arthur's. He'd become a fixture in our lives, picking them up every Sunday. "They're good kids," he told me once. "You're raising them right." From him, that meant everything. Aunt Julia was more than family, she was a friend. "You didn't become bitter," she'd said recently. "What would be the point?" I'd replied. "Bitterness is just drinking poison and expecting someone else to get sick." As for my parents, we hadn't spoken directly. Family whispers said they were still at Uncle Robert's. Dad worked part-time at a hardware store. Mom did bookkeeping for a church. They weren't thriving, but they were surviving. Some days I wondered if they thought about me, if they regretted anything. But those weren't my questions to answer. I'd spent 34 years carrying their weight. It was finally time to put it down. For 34 years, I believed that love was something you could earn. That if I just gave enough, sacrificed enough, asked for nothing in return, eventually, the people who were supposed to love me would see my value. I was wrong. Love isn't a transaction. It's not a reward for being useful. The family I have now, Grandpa Arthur, Aunt Julia, friends like David, they didn't love me because of what I could provide. They loved me because of who I am. That's the difference. And it took almost not making it to understand it. I don't know what happens next with my parents. Maybe someday they'll truly change. If that happens, I'll consider it. But I won't wait for it. My life is mine now. My energy, my resources, my love. If the people who raised you call your self-respect betrayal, then maybe they never deserved your loyalty in the first place. To anyone out there carrying a weight that was never yours to bear, it's okay to put it down. It's okay to choose yourself. You're not selfish. You're not ungrateful. You're not a burden. You're finally free. Has there ever been a time you had to choose yourself over a deeply ingrained family dynamic?